Now, here's another weird thing. They don't ever talk about how or what else the pineal gland makes. They keep saying that the pineal gland generates melatonin, but the fact is actually serotonin is melatonin. All right? So the pineal gland primarily makes serotonin, and then at night when the light is different, it picks that up and it basically transforms the same stuff it's using cerebrospinal fluid to create serotonin. And then at night it turns that same fluid into melatonin. That's how this works. I don't know why they keep, because if you go and you just look up pineal gland serotonin, you don't find anything directly on the front page which just straight up says, yes, the pineal gland makes serotonin. But it makes a whole lot of sense because melatonin is an evolution of serotonin, and then I think Joe Dispenza references that there's another step in the process that'll evolve out of melatonin, and then from that next step, you get DMT, and the pineal gland will start to transmit DMT throughout your brain. Now, piezoelectric crystals. Your pineal gland is coated in these piezoelectric crystals in the back of your brain. Now, I want to point out your occipital lobe right here, right? This is your cerebrum and your cerebellum right there. This area right here on the inside is where your pineal gland is sitting, and this is your occipital lobe. So if I go back and I have a look here, so that's your occipital lobe, that's your pineal gland, and your pineal gland is pointing directly at the intersection between your cerebrum, your midbrain, and your occipital lobe. So piezoelectric crystals, if I can find a video where they actually... No, I don't want to get copyright striked or hit up by somebody else's channel. Go and look up on YouTube piezoelectricity and find the different examples. So you have piezoelectric crystals can be used as microphones, they can be used as speakers, and they can be used to generally just generate electricity based on pressure. But then in crystals, if you put the right amount of pressure on them, and usually in combination with heat, they'll start to light up, okay? So when we're talking about visions that come from your third eye or your pineal gland, we're talking about piezoelectric crystals that come off of your pineal gland because of pressure. This is something that's taught by both Wim Hof and Joe Dispenza, who are world-renowned for the work they do all around the world for people who are suffering from anything from cancer to MS, multiple sclerosis, and all kinds of mental disorders, depression, suicide, broken bones, lifetime debilitating diseases and injuries that can get cured through the breath work they do. And part of what both of them will talk about is not namely the piezoelectricity, but pressure. All right, so Wim Hof says in his method that he teaches, he talks about fully in, you breathe all the way in, and you let it go. You don't breathe out, you just let it go. And then, oh, you gotta love that. You really gotta love that. So you breathe fully in, and you're letting go. And as you do this, he usually tells people to do it 25 times, right? And when you've done it 25 times, you hold your breath, and then you squeeze the muscles. He always talks about that. And he's not great at English, so it's always kind of hard to tell exactly what he's getting at when he starts talking all this metaphysical stuff. But what he's trying to get you to do is to compress these crystals that are likely present all throughout your body, but definitely in the pineal gland. He's getting you to compress these areas and liberate energy off of them. He literally says you're releasing the energy, you're liberating the energy, you're moving things up. And then Joe Dispenza, who's very good at English, literally has all of this like set out perfectly. And I bring up both these people because they're technically unrelated. You never see them hanging out. They don't know each other. They don't talk about each other. They literally came from different walks of life. Wim Hof learned everything from nature, and Joe Dispenza learned everything by intellect, and they both get the same results, and they both have technically the same method. Joe Dispenza explains it as You have to lift the muscles starting at your perineum all the way up to you go to your lower abdomen, upper abdomen, heart, neck, and you send your cerebrospinal fluid up to the head. When it gets to the head, it goes through the pineal gland. The pineal gland starts to turn it into DMT, and then the DMT, which is soluble with the hydroxy atom, starts to mix with your fluid in the back of your head and your brain, and it moves around your brain just like serotonin will. The piezoelectricity comes from when he's talking to his patients and he's saying, you're going to liberate all this energy, you're going to bring it up. He specifically says once you're feeling like oxidized, like your entire body is full of energy. And when we say energy, we're talking about oxygen and pH levels. We're talking about oxygenating the blood and the cells. We're not talking about some metaphysical woo-woo energy. I am very, very sick of this whole dynamic and system and culture where everything we say is mystical. It's not mystical. It never was. That's why anything that's mystical can be demystified, because it's not literally not there. It's not like it's literally ineffable. It's very much so real science that's going on in the body that causes visions, that causes superhuman strength, or being able to like be out in the cold for 2 hours in your shorts and not get hypothermia or have your core temperature go down. I mean, they put Wim Hof literally inside a box full of ice and then have him sit there for 2 hours, and his core temperature never goes down. Ever. It doesn't. His skin temperature goes down, but his core temperature doesn't. And this is why he's such an anomaly of science, because he's proven himself to be able to do things that other people can't do just through his control of the body. So again, back to piezoelectric crystals. This happens when you put pressure on your pineal gland. When you put the pressure on your pineal gland, the pineal gland starts to light up, and the lighting happens in a circular fashion. That is why with DMT, with the literal substance, when people take DMT and they trip, they see spinning, swirling geometries, and even in the visions when they're not seeing other entities and things like this, they look around and they see everything very symmetrical and it's swirling. It's because your pineal gland literally has these lights coming off of it, and they swirl around with the fluid, okay? So your pineal gland, and the reason that you actually see this with your eyes, and this is what I was getting at, your pineal gland is pointed at the occipital lobe. So your occipital lobe, or rather your neural network, is picking up the light from this pineal gland over here, and then it's crossing it with the data in your occipital lobe, thereby crossing it with what you see in your eyes, but it has nothing to do with your eyes. All right, so the pineal gland is actually getting its information technically from the cerebellum, but it's also positioned right next to the hypothalamus, and the thalamus is all about sensory and motory signals, as well as regulation of consciousness and alertness. All right, and it's not a coincidence that your pineal gland is basically positioned right off of the thalamus. And whatever we don't know about consciousness, about how it's working in the brain, I mean, this thing right here is basically the central chamber, and it's very important because people do not actually look at this stuff. I've already had a couple people hit me up and they're like, you can't talk about this unless you're a doctor. I'm sorry, I don't give a f. I've had doctors basically tell me bullshit all my life and then leave me alone to figure it out myself. And if I hadn't figured it out myself, I would be dead right now, literally. Or even worse, something even worse would have happened. I had to figure it out myself. And the fact comes down to, it's about self-cognizance, self-consciousness, self-awareness. That's it. And when you talk about self-awareness, you're talking about your body and mind. All right? A lot of people want to forego this whole thing, or then they only start to tackle certain things going on with the body or the mind when those things come up in life and start to bug them. Because it's like they don't want to talk about sexual problems until they have sexual problems, and they don't want to talk about visions until they have visions. But there's nothing stopping us from getting educated on this stuff, just like we would have been educated on it as kids had our ancestors actually known about this. Had our elders actually been paying attention, we would have known all of this as kids, and then as we grew up, there wouldn't have been nearly as many questions about all this stuff, and that's just a fact. So, end of the day, there's a lot inside of this, and it's not that it's hard or easy. It's going to take me some time to sort of divvy it out into subjects and topics, and then tackle those subjects and topics just much more clearly each time. But I'm going to keep doing this. And I'm not going to stop. If you have any questions, you can ask me in the description. I'm going to put links for a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about in the description. If I miss something, if there's something that you don't find in the description that you need proof for, or if there's some speculation that I brought up that you need proof for, leave a comment. I will totally deliberate with you. I will totally go and do the research and give you what there is and what exists. And you want to have a conversation about what it means and what we can do next. Generally, I'm going to also leave a link to Joe Dispenza's breath work over here. And I'm also going to leave a link to Wim Hofs breath work, because, right now, I could start talking about it right now, but the fact is I would want to set up a camera and actually illustrate to you the different parts of the body and what it feels like, what it looks like, and it's also something I'm practicing myself. These are people who do it professionally, and they have been teaching it professionally for years, and you should definitely go and listen to them, because the energy is different when somebody explains something to you that they've been practicing for years. I've been practicing the researching for years. I've been practicing, like, for example, I make music. I've been practicing music for years. Thereby, I feel qualified to share that. But when it comes down to the breath work, this is something that I'm learning for myself. So you can check it out. You can actually do the exercises and find out that it works. It definitely works. There are hundreds and thousands of success stories and testimonies to prove that not only does it work and it changes your life and it gives you these crazy visions and you evolve, but also it can do things like heal cancer. You can do things like heal your bones, and things like multiple sclerosis can go away. Think like people who had disorders where their bones were weak and they couldn't go anywhere without breaking them. See, that is the exact kind of stuff that your brain and body is capable of healing. And this bufotenin, the DMT, is not about visions. The piezoelectric crystals are what cause the actual visions. The content of the visions comes from within. And that's a much deeper conversation, which is, namely, you want to make the distinction between your ego, which is your personal idea of yourself, and thereby all of the thoughts which stem from your personal idea of yourself, and then the reality. And the reality is a lot more complicated and different than anybody really implies it to be. So we're not going to get into that. But just in general, go back and rewatch this video. Ask me questions if there's something I didn't cover that you want me to talk more about. Honestly, there's just a lot to tackle, and I understand that there's a lot of points for me to cover because I want to share this, and a lot of people are going to look at it like, listen, man, you can't just tell me that everything that the people have told me is wrong, and I'm sorry, it is. It absolutely is, and it has been for a long time, and it's not because they're trying to manipulate you. Not necessarily. Some of them are, but it's not because they're evil. It's because they don't know better, and they're scared of something. All of us, a lot of us, are scared of something, and what it comes down to, even just our apprehension to be nice to each other comes down to fear. But our apprehension to give schizophrenics and autistic kids the benefit of the doubt. You know how many people in my life, in the world that I've met, that look down upon autism and look down upon schizophrenia? High functioning autistics and schizophrenics are some of the most beautiful and capable people I have ever met. And there's a reason for that. There's a reason that you find bufotenin in their systems. There's a reason. There's a reason that DMT is such a profound substance and that your body is creating it naturally. All right? And I want to confirm, or I want to reiterate that again, that bufotenin is literally DMT with a hydroxy atom, which then makes it soluble in liquid. That's it. So then your bufotenin is something that can travel throughout your whole body, and it can get distributed to different parts of the body. That's it. That's all that means. I told somebody the other day about bufotenin, and they were like, dude, you're bugging. That's something that we find in toads. I don't know why you're tripping about this. And I was like, no, dude, they find this stuff in autistic people and schizophrenic people. And he's like, no, there's no way. I already know. See, you don't know what you're talking about. You're making up off the top of your head. I've known about this stuff for years, and it happens in toads. And I'm like, dude, you're right. They are in toads. But the fact is that you can go and you can look at this paper yourself. And I already put it over in here on PubMed, which is literally like it confirms that you find this stuff in patients with autistic spectrum disorders. And I know that there's an E here, but I've actually gone and looked this up, and no, there is no difference. All right, it's the same thing. Bufotenin, bufotenine, doesn't matter. So with that being said, peace, wholeness, wellness. I'll see you on the next video. Again, if you have questions, ask me. My channel is completely free. All of the videos are completely free. If you appreciate this content, there are donation links in the description for you to support. I really appreciate you watching, and I hope this stuff helps you expand. I'll see you next time. Peace.